Welcome, welcome. I'm Richard Adams. I'm a data intelligence solutions strategist. So what that means is that I typically work with different customers, different companies who have various different data governance challenges. They have challenges around data cataloging or data lineage, data governance, around data quality, and about how they socialize that data. And my background is mainly working in data governance teams for other companies. So I've worked for TfL, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, GlaxoSmithKline, in those central teams. And having the challenges that we often face now in my role at Irwin by Quest. Okay. Now, you might know Irwin due to the data modeling product. That might have been where it's crossed your path. If you work in IT or any kind of data modeling world, then it's a prominent factor. It's been around for over 30 years. The data intelligence suite is less known. Quite often at events like this, people would say they know the data modeler, but not the intelligence suite. The data intelligence suite is a much more sophisticated product in the sense it covers a lot more of the data cataloging, the automation tools, which I'll come on to. Quest bought Irwin in December 2020, and you might know Quest for various other products, like cybersecurity products and others. That's where the name is more broadly known. Now, we've been rebranded as Irwin by Quest, so come and see us outside in the booth around the corner from here afterwards. But there's been a journey about the product in general. The data modeling product initially is where it all came from. The data catalogue itself, from the data intelligence suite embodies, is all about understanding your metadata of your different data sources. Whatever your data sources might be, typically they're connected to by JDBC connectors and various other means of uploading content. And the mappings between those different data sources are achieved through ETL smart connectors, as we call them, or BI. For our BI reports, we can connect to them using our BI connectors and bring all of this content into one place. So the idea that we focused on first is the IT landscape. We've been building the engine of our products initially so that we can have some real substance. Our competitors have historically been very good at putting on the user interface. We focused on that engine room. So we were typically more known in the IT space. Before then we were known out to more maybe CDO roles, more C-level conversations around how it would suit the broader business. Okay, so we focus primarily on that part of the IT world. As we've listened to our customers more, we've understood that interface is more important. The art of governing the data, what should be happening to that content, is very powerful, very important, especially when compliance laws around data privacy and security are such headline-hitting topics. So, whereas we've got the data catalogue looking at the as-is, the way the world is operating, the business glossary allows you to document exactly what should be happening. And they quite often, quite frankly, they don't align. There is reason to overlay and discover why there's going to be differences and how you might need to address them. So we have automation tools that we've developed to marry up those two worlds. We have like a bulk fuzzy search which joins those worlds together. So again, we're listening to the challenges our customers are having about how do we really know where the data is? How do we really know what the laws are that apply to our particular industry, our particular world that we've created? And so that interface has continuously improved, lots of customization. It's particularly flexible to be industry agnostic and scalable for all our different customers. Moving on to this year, one of our most recent releases back in July was around looking at the live data quality. It's quite common to have pillars of looking at data governance and data architecture and data quality, so they come always hand in hand. The live data quality is something that's a lot more sensitive. We focused on metadata governance at first, but accessing live data quality is somewhat segregated because of the privacy you need to invoke. We have the ability to say what should happen in the glossary, link it to the sources that we have in the architecture, and then be able to then use certain rules, profiling, look for patterns across that live data so that then you can investigate it further. Okay, so as I say, we've listened to all the different typical program, a strategy as it rolls out and how customers' needs have developed, and we've reflected that in our product up to date. Now, the socialization of that, making it all available, has been part of the release of this year as well, allowing the feedback from your broader business contacts to be heard. So people are going to be critical of whatever you put in front of them, right? So you're going to be in a situation where we say, this is our architecture, this is our business terms, our policies. People will then be able to find that and be able to critique it, highlight issues, give their commentary on how that's all brought together. So the main point I'm making is the product has developed based on what our customers need, and so we have a very strong relationship with our customers, with our partners who relay that information back to us. So our connectors, which I will come on to, around how we actually access all your different data sources, reverse engineer your coding, that list of connectors is ever advancing. That's one of our biggest differentiators in the market. Whereas you might be talking to people saying similar stories here, we're the ones who'll be able to create in-house connectors that work for you and work deliberately with you for a long-term basis. So it's not just about the product, it's about the services and the relationship that we have. So because it's a subscription-based product that we have, all the new features that then come with it, if you bought the data intelligence suite back when we were just looking at data cataloging, you'd get all the features and upgrades that we've had that I've spoken about through the journey that we've made as part of that subscription. Okay? So broadly speaking then, we end up with this all-encompassing product here. We're covering a lot of bases in one place. Around this event that we're at today, there'll be lots of different products that will probably specialize in a certain number of these areas, but we've evolved all of this out into one product that interacts with each other. The data modeling product that I initially mentioned at the start integrates with the data catalog that we have in the data intelligence suite. We have another product called Casewise. If you've ever heard of Casewise, or as it's now known, Evolve, as it's called, that also integrates with the data intelligence suite. So when we engage with our customers, there's typically a number of different use cases in different departments around the company, which can then provide their input, their expectations, and we can meet it with the different capabilities within the tool that we have here. Okay. Looking specifically at the data cataloging and data lineage, we have a number of typical challenges that our customers would come to. We're looking at who's responsible for which data source. Where does that personally identifiable information reside? What is the life cycle of the data as it flows through the landscape? There's a lot of unknowns, and I'm speaking from experience here when I say that you can gather a lot of intelligent people into the room and probably come to, problem solve, come to a good conclusion about how you deal with your IT landscape. But big programs of work might have a bit of a hit and hope style. Turn something off, see who screams, and then deal with the aftermath afterwards. Get them on board with the new setup that you're creating. And it would be much better if you had that full understanding of that end-to-end lineage at a very detailed level up front. You're then playing that into the conversations. You're doing an impact analysis. You're confirming with all your data consumers the cause and effect that are going to happen before you make those changes. So we're looking here at a situation where time is precious, accuracy is important. You've got intelligent people, but you're trying to mobilize them effectively and gather all that information into one place. So the speed of our connectors, being able to repetitively scan your data sources for the reality that you're facing, to reverse engineer code, which may have been written sometime in the past, it might have been ambiguous to some, and get that accurately into one solution to build out the data lineage is very, very important. it's commonplace for situations to be where programs of work happen on a large landscape, changes to occur, contractors to leave, documents to go out of date, and then to be guessing too much really about what the landscape actually looks like. So having a robust way to bring all of this consistently into one place and be able to look back through the landscape is incredibly powerful. We can customize and build lots of different properties you might want, upload documents at different levels, hyperlink anything in together, because the idea is that not to do admin for admin's sake, but to bring these worlds into one place. So if you've got resources, other applications, SharePoint sites with information in, you can bring all those things together so that they're easily accessible to the people, the architects, the solution designers, the IT stewards, so they know what they're actually, what the parameters are that they're working to. Okay, there's customizable workflow. So when you get something created, a new source is identified, there is a systematic process that you've defined as to who's going to approve what. How are you going to get that published? How do you know that the right properties have been collated so that you know that this is well governed? Okay, so there is a lot of detail you can put in, and it's as much as you need with focusing on the most critical data sources first that is going to matter. There's questions around how did you generate this report? Where did this data come from? How can I trust it? Those types of questions, they're difficult to answer. Like, you can probably give a good answer to a degree to make the person you're talking to happy enough, but really, forensically, how do you know exactly what column has integrated all the way through your landscape to come to that conclusion, so that you can be really confident in that outcome? You'll be able to answer that through forensically going back through the landscape and being able to articulate that really well to those people with the report. So you can, whether you're talking to a supervisory authority maybe, or to a senior leader making a decision, you've got that available. So, as I say, we listen to our customers. There's other features that people have said, I wish you could do this. I wish you could move on and be able to crawl through a server and find things without me identifying it up front. We're developing content around that. We're looking at, we do APIs at the moment, but we're enhancing those APIs, the ways that we customize that aspect. We constantly develop new connectors based on what our customers ask for. The list that we have of connectors is really vast. If you go to our website, you'll see it goes on for a long way. But it is quite realistic for a customer to say, we'd like to connect to 10 data sources and you've only got 9 of the connectors. We would then develop that in-house, that 10th connector, to suit the timeline that you're working to. So this is, again, another example where you're not just buying the products off the shelf, you're buying a relationship, really, so that we can continuously evolve how we engage with you and meet your needs. Now, the business glossary side, this is deliberately flexible. So it might be a case where at the moment you could be working on Excel documents, you've got a good understanding of some of those key, most important parts of the glossary that you're making. But how do you really get it out there? How do you really make sure that people are aware of those terms? And how does it get associated with the IT landscape? So what we have is a really customizable glossary where you're effectively designing your own building blocks in terms of what properties each of these different components should have and how they relate to each other within the glossary. So effectively you might say, classically, I need a number of different business terms. I need business policies, I need rules, I need regulations. I need to build a narrative that basically combats the situation that you're in, whatever industry. So you might have a regulation such as GDPR. You might have a policy in-house that you've defined, which meets your best practices and the rules of the regulation. You might then have the business terms that are affected by that particular policy that should be in line. You might have the business processes documented. If you're thinking of Article 30 of GDPR, everything that processes PII needs to be listed, and the lawful basis of processing and various other components are all listed alongside it. So you're gathering your specialists in your legal team, your risk team, your governance teams to input their knowledge into the glossary, so that then you're metaphorically sitting around a table and saying, this is what we need, that's how it should interact, This is how we should be shaping a vision for the future so that we know that we are compliant with the law and we are doing the best for our company. It's not just about giving a nice exam question to an external person, but it's actually giving you something tangible to use to better your company. So it's, as I mentioned, it's industry agnostic, because any of the different laws that might have come up that you need to focus on your industry can be documented in an easy to understand way. You have a mind map which allows you to see the relationships between these different components. Excel documents are nice for a lot of people to see how things are linked, but quite often, to get a good understanding of how everything entwines, the diagram, the visualization of the data in this mind map is very advantageous to detangle some of the way that things are all connected. One of the advancements we made, based on customer feedback again, was around how would you know where certain columns of data exist in the data landscape when you're not somebody who works with IT very, very often. So you could have a governance team who knows academically, these are the definitions that I have. I know what this business, I know what a customer is, and their customer address and various financial terms or pharmaceutical terms, but I don't know the IT landscape well enough to say that should be connected to that. So we developed a module, we call it the AI match module, which is effectively a bulk fuzzy search looking at components of the glossary against components of the data catalogue, and it proposes associations which are probably going to be applicable. So if you worked in HR, for example, and you had a folder of business terms in the glossary, and you knew what HR systems existed, maybe you use SAP or other systems to do that, then you could link across through the propositions on bulk if you needed to, or based on your human judgment to a large degree as to where they should be linked. But having them all proposed to you, linked out with logic and understanding the path they exist, is incredibly powerful. It speeds up that process, and it can be repeated when new data sources are then brought on. You might have a merger or an acquisition, a new set of data sources are brought in, and you want to bring a universal terminology to things. So that way you could scan the data catalogue a second time, or whatever time it is, and say, oh, we've got a new data source for HR. Let's assign those columns of data to those business terms that we have in the glossary, so we have that universal understanding of how everything is brought together. So when we engage with our customers, we would be understanding in detail what the use cases are, what narratives do you want to say, what use cases are relevant, and then we would support you in customizing the narratives in the glossary and how things would work, what times you want to use such features to accelerate a project, and bring those worlds together. So again, you might be able to use the customized workflows for creating assets in a similar way as I mentioned before. We would have, we've also been looking towards the future, particularly around language. So Erwin originally came from America, very focused on the English language. We're getting a much greater presence out in EMEA and into Asia, and so language is more prominent. So we are, although we can facilitate the language differences within the content that's scanned, we're now talking about changing the user interfaces to suit, to be able to be customized to suit different languages as well. And because there is a theme of compliance reporting that's necessary, although anybody with understanding of the glossary could create their own narratives on how they're going to be compliant, there is a theme. GDPR is going to be around for a while. There's a common thread across the world about how that's been replicated. Lots of financial and pharmaceutical companies and energy companies we deal with have a theme of how they're going to be compliant with their industry-based laws. So we're making bespoke compliance reporting based on that out of the box to, again, accelerate a program of work that you might have. So there's a number of those features coming forward too. When we then look at data quality and the socialization of the contents of the products, we're looking at identifying, in the business glossary you'd have stated, these are data quality rules which we know about. We know we should adhere to certain things. Then you would then associate them with the contents of the catalogue. You would link them across, and you say this particular rule must link across. If you're hiring a person, we're expecting them to be born before they were hired. You know, things like that makes it a bit obvious, but sometimes the data's wrong. So you'd link across. You could then use our data quality connectors to profile and review the contents in that source and understand the different patterns. Write your own logical rules against that live data to see where things are incorrect. So you're getting back a level of detail which you can then act upon. You can see where at different stages of the data lineage, how good or bad the data might be, and then you can trace it back. If you're thinking strategically, you might find where the data's wrong downstream, but be thinking, if I want to benefit the company or as an enterprise, I should be looking back to where it's come from in the lineage and fixing it at source so that everyone's going to benefit the next time the data flows through the company. You might be talking about strategical changes around how the data is produced in the first place. Maybe one of those integrations that was reverse engineered using our connectors is flawed. It's not capturing the right information, or it's truncating information, and then you can fix that for the long term too. It's incredibly difficult to do to conduct any kind of data quality issue management if you don't have the visualization of how the data is actually flowing around, who's accountable for the different stages, how it's being produced at a detailed level. If you've got everything set up correctly in the catalogue showing reality, that conversation is much easier because you can go and get the right people in the room and say, this is flawed in some places, let's talk about fixing it, let's talk about how we remediate the content at the right place. So there's a lot of ways we can talk about the reference data and how the parameters that they should be operating to. So when this information is socialized through what we call our Discover Assets module, anybody around the company can search and find content related to the catalogue, the glossary, and so all of these terms and understandings can be seen. The interactive data lineage diagram, the mind map, and impact analysis can be all conducted by anyone who's going to click that link and have a look. So this then results in the ability for this feedback to be given about the content which is seen. So people can write reviews, they can give star ratings, they can raise tasks or issues against any of the content. So everyone's allowed an opinion. What the people do with that opinion, obviously, is up to the people who maintain the content. But you can, the fact that you can crowdsource these things and find out the unknown unknowns that you might not realize as an architect, as a CDO, is incredibly powerful to be able to then react upon it. You can log issues, therefore, and then delve into the data quality a bit more and root cause analysis and give feedback. Tell people you've resolved that issue, or dispel some kind of myth about poor data quality that perhaps isn't justified. So again, we would be focused on another topic which we've been looking at, listening to about with the data quality side, is a data marketplace. So there's a lot that can be said for, thank you, there's a lot that can be said for being able to show all of this content, see a source of truth, and so at the moment we can tag things, we can show where all these things are highlighted, but then being able to shop around and be able to gather that a bit more cleanly would be better. So at the moment, yes, you can engage, yes, you can raise a task, you can take that journey and achieve the equivalent of a data marketplace, but we want to make that more formal, so that then everything is more available readily, maybe a shopping basket approach, things like that, to be able to make that more, the data more available, empowering to the vast number of users around the business. And there's other continuous, as I say, there's lots of different interfaces which are going to be improved based on the feedback that you can have. There's a lot of different color schemes you've seen on some of the screenshots there, but they can be customized the way that you would like to market it to. Now, one of the major aspects which I kind of alluded to throughout is that it's not just about the products, it's about the services we provide and the partnership that we have about your feedback around that continuously improve our design work. We can integrate to the data modeler that I mentioned before, Evolve, as our enterprise architecture and business process component. So if you're taking that helicopter view of your architecture as opposed to the detailed view I've been talking about so far, you can also integrate all that to understand it. We have a very strong global partnership, a global network of partners who can support you in your longer term strategy. If you say, great, I've bought the product, but I'm not quite sure how this is going to align with my strategy, or I need to write a strategy, then we've got people who can get involved and support you in that journey. And as I say, we've got services and the ability to make all of these different components in-house. Okay? So they're the things I would like to cover today. We do have a booth just out here, turn out here on your left as you come out, and we've got a number of different slides showing there with greater screenshots, and we can talk further about any of the particular challenges that you have, which we can have a discovery call or a demonstration outside of this forum, incorporating lots of your business contacts if you like. Okay, so thank you for your time. Please come and talk to us outside if you would like to. Thanks.